Greetings, Fright Nights and Monster Girls. I'm Count Jackula.
And I'm the Horror Guru.
And we just saw Phantasm Ravager.
Oh man, I've been looking forward to this movie for a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah, me too. Like there are many horror franchises that I love, but for me personally, Phantasm is something special.
Oh, it stands outside of all the other ones.
It does.
Because in most horror franchises, the thing that ties them all together is almost exclusively the killer, you know?
Yes.
Pinhead, Jason, Freddy Krueger. But in Phantasm, it's not just the tall man, which does.
Correct.
It is also the dreamlike style.
Yeah, yeah. It's the dreamlike style of the movies. It's the fucking terror ball.
Yes.
You know, the terror sphere.
There's multiple things that make a Phantasm movie a Phantasm movie.
You know, one of the reasons that Phantasm is so special to me is this is one of the movies I saw as a little kid on Count Gordyval on Channel 20.
There you go.
Yeah, like he was the guy who brought this movie out of the shadows and into the mainstream horror consciousness because he was the guy who fought so hard to get this broadcast because it was actually it's a PG movie.
Yeah, it is.
Like when you look back on it now, you're like that thing's PG, but yeah,
they get
PG
away
was
with
different,
away with a lot of blood effects that you couldn't do in a PG movie now.
No, you couldn't. You absolutely
maybe
could not.
in a PG-13, but even PG-13 they have to remove the blood most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
To get the rating.
Yeah, this one was, they showed it more or less in its entirety. They had commercial breaks, but all the really important shit was there. The fucking, like, ball coming in the guy's head, the blood coming out, that was there. You know, like, boy! You know, like, all that stuff. And that movie just fucking blew my mind. I'd never seen anything like it. I watched it on Halloween night when it was broadcast. In like like 83, 84, something like that.
That would be about right.
Yeah, and it just fucking changed my life forever. I never realized you could do a story that was like this.
As it should, because this is like, okay, Nightmare on Elm Street takes place in dreams, but it doesn't follow dream logic.
No, it doesn't. It's an adventure story where they go into another dimension, and that dimension is a consistent dream world.
Yes. Whereas in Nightmare on Elm Street, it's very linear. Like, start to finish, beginning, middle, and end, first act, second act, third act.
Yeah.
The thing about Phantasm movies is that scenes that follow one another don't necessarily correlate.
Yeah.
Because it's like a dream. It's like when you walk into a room in a dream and next thing you know, you're in a different dream.
Yeah.
You know, that's
There's
the
a
way
lot of that.
that's the way Phantasm operates. And as a result, there's always this question at the end of almost all the movies, with two being the most coherent probably.
Yeah.
But almost all the movies end with that question of what was the real reality? Were they all real? Were all the dimensions real?
Yeah.
Or was one of them just a dream?
Yeah, yeah. The first one is the one that kind of sets it up. And you got to understand another thing about Phantasm. This is before Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes.
This is way before Nightmare on Elm Street.
Absolutely.
And so you have this dream logic movie, and then you get the second one, which is a bit more of a straight-up splatter movie.
Absolutely, because the second one was inspired by what Sam Raimi was doing with the Evil Dead movies. And in fact, they kind of turned Reggie from the first one essentially into Ash.
Yeah, yeah. That's essentially what he is. And
which this movie continues.
Yes. And when they did the third one, they went back to a little bit more of the pure dream logic, but kept a lot of the Goonie humor.
And introduced a lot of new characters.
They did. Yeah.
Absolutely.
4 was an attempted continuation of the story that ran into so many production troubles.
Basically,
poor Don Coscarelli could not make the movie it was intended to be.
There was a lot of scenes and images in Ravager that I remember Coscarelli talking about wanting in 4.
Yeah.
So you can tell that this is the movie he wanted to make, more or less.
Yeah, about the only thing you need to know from 4 is that in 4, Mike realizes that he has a connection to the terror balls.
Yes. Which is really only important for one scene in this movie, but you should probably know that.
Yeah, you should know that he has a strange connection to the terror spheres.
And by the way, like, we haven't gone into spoilers for this movie yet, but if you haven't seen the other movies, by this point, that's kind of on you. Like,
yeah.
We're gonna spoil the shit of those first 3 movies right now.
Yeah.
And
absolutely. Oh god, the quick capsule reviews, of course, like Phantasm Ravager is
fucking
really
love
fucking
this.
good.
I fucking love this. Okay, so Phantasm 1, 2, and 3 are solid movies, especially those first two, probably the two best in the franchise.
Yeah.
The Phantasm 4 was disappointment on toast.
Yeah. It was really bad.
For many reasons, but basically it was half a movie and a bunch of stock footage because a bunch of shit went wrong during the production of it. Phantasm Ravager is the fourth movie we always wanted.
Yes. Yeah, it's what we wanted 4 to be. It's what... It's... Oh, good God. I don't even know how to describe it, other than if you're a Phantasm fan... This movie's really good. It's exactly what you want.
The best way I would describe it, for Phantasm fans anyway, if you're not a Phantasm fan, you shouldn't start here.
Oh, God, no.
It gives you a good recap of what happened, but it would probably be wise to at least watch the first 3 before you jump into this one.
Yeah.
But if you're a Phantasm fan, this is part 2. This is Phantasm 2 part 2.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
There are references to 3 and 4, but this really is the sequel to part 2.
This does what I always felt like a lot of those like reboots of horror franchise should have done, which is no, just make the sequel.
Yes.
Just make the sequel. And if they wanted to, and the thing is the way the movie leaves it off, if they wanted to kind of reboot it at this point, they could do the thing where it's both a reboot and a sequel, no matter what you did.
Absolutely, they totally could. The one thing they would have to do, and they have an out in the franchise, and that's that the tall man, he's a shapeshifter, and the tall man has multiple tall men. So because Angus Scrim passed away, rest in peace, Angus. And they wanted to continue the franchise, they could get a new actor very easily just by the logic of shape-shifting. I got tired of that old form. You know?
Yeah. I really want to believe that at his funeral, guys would when they were about to like do the thing, guys would go up to other guys and go, "The funeral's about to begin."
The funeral is about to begin, sir.
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that I should say about this movie is that this is very much everyone in this movie shows their age.
Yeah.
Which is fine because it's obviously been fighting this war with the tall man for years.
It's built around the fact that all these guys are like middle-aged at youngest at this point.
But it actually kind of reminded me of another Coscarelli movie, and that was Bubba Hotep.
Yeah.
Where you have like this aging guy fighting these monsters, and it actually kind of worked in this movie's favor because that completely separates it from the other ones.
It does.
While also making it very much a continuation. But you gotta be prepared going in that none of these actors are young bucks anymore.
Yeah.
Especially Angus Scrim. He still has his presence.
Oh, yeah.
And thankfully the tall man doesn't require him to move too much.
Yeah. He doesn't have to.
You could tell that he was in his last years of his life.
Yeah. You could tell that he was old. Like like Christopher Lee, he was just gonna kick over at any time.
In fact, the movie kind of feels almost like a send-off to him.
It does.
To a certain extent.
It does. It does for Angus Scrim. It kind of puts him into that place of being an immortal figure.
Yes, absolutely.
That I thought was really, really good. Oh man, perhaps we should just go into spoilers.
Yeah, so basically, my recommendation, if you like Phantasm, fucking see this movie. If you have not seen a Phantasm movie, watch at least the first 3, and if you don't want to go to 3, watch the first 2, and then watch this one. Those are the important information, and it continues mainly the first 2, though there is aspects of 3 and 4 in it.
Yeah.
I guess spoilers?
Boy! Okay. All right, so the setup is this. Reggie, who you probably remember most from the second one, but has been in all of them.
Yeah, he was the ice cream man in the first one.
The original, yeah. He has been fighting the tall man for like 35 years as far as he knows, like for a long ass fucking time. It starts with him fucking walking down a desert road, he still talks like he's that young guy from the 70s.
Absolutely. He still uses the same language. Like he says hey dude, how you doing?
Hey, dude.
Which sounds a little off for an old man, but when you realize that he's kind of stuck in time, it makes a lot of sense. And on top of that, he's having these like hallucinations that he is a guy in a mental hospital.
Dying of dementia.
So
right off the bat, we're like, okay, good. We're in good Phantasm territory because we're already going in not knowing what's real. We don't know how this is all going to pan out. We have no fucking clue.
Absolutely.
And that right there was like, oh, okay, awesome.
Yes. And you're left wondering because you know that Phantasm deals with dimensions. Like, is the dementia thing one dimension? Is it the reality? Is he hallucinating the whole thing?
Has he been hallucinating the whole thing?
Has the entire Phantasm series been an old man's dementia?
Yeah. They totally could have St. Elsewhere'd it.
Or is the tall man completely fucking with him?
Yeah.
Because the tall man seems to want something from him throughout this, and that's basically for him to give up.
Yeah.
You know?
He wants Reggie to give up for some reason.
To what end, we don't know, but what we do know is he wants him to stop looking for Mikey.
Yeah. And so you've got several stories happening at once. You've got the Reggie basically fighting the tall man in
meeting a girl.
Yeah, meeting a girl in 2016. You've got even farther future time where the tall man has taken over and the terror spheres rule the skies. And it's like an 80s urban action movie. Like fucking
it is post-apocalyptic as shit.
Yeah.
And there are now giant spheres blowing up buildings and shit. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. The effects, some of those effects, not so good.
That is one doc I'll give this movie, is that because they had to do it on such a low budget, there's a lot of really questionable effects in this movie.
Yeah.
Probably even more so than the first two movies. Because in the first two movies, they did a lot of really practical stuff. Because it was pre-digital.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because every time you're in the post-apocalyptic world, that's where they're like, all right, the effects here don't have to be so great. But some of the effects that were really good was one of the characters that comes back is the woman in lavender, who's from the first movie. She's in like a single scene and everyone's trying to figure out who the fuck she is because she's
and she stabs Reggie.
Yeah, she stabs Reggie because she's filmed like this spirit and everyone's like, who the fuck is that?
Which was a nice fucking nod to fans to bring that back.
Yeah. And it turns out that the answer is she's the tall man because we find out that he's a shapeshifter.
Yeah. And we also find out that he has these like that he can reanimate people and trick people.
Yeah, he That's another thing he does. Dead.
So like when he shoots the woman in lavender, like all this like weird
all that weird yellow shit comes out. It's because she's a reanimated corpse that the tall man has made.
Absolutely, and he even offers to like reanimate Reggie's whole family.
Yeah, give him back everything
as long as he gives up on looking for Mikey. Which we're assuming Mikey is alive because he apparently can't reanimate Mikey.
Yeah.
And he either
can't or he won't.
Yes. And he wants to keep Mikey for himself.
Yeah. For some strange reason. And there's a scene where the woman in lavender meets Reggie again. They got the actress back.
Yes.
She looks at...
She's like floating. And
her toes scrape along the floor and it sparks.
And it's like, oh man, like she...
what is she? She screams at him like a banshee. And those effects really
That was awesome. That was fantastic. It's mainly when they get into post-apocalyptic world and it's all green screen.
Yeah, it's all green screen. They got the red Batman animated series Sky Cat thing going on. And just like, okay.
I did miss some of the more practical ball effects, but
the compositing worked okay.
It was okay.
It was okay. It worked fine. Like every time the ball's actually like drilling into a guy, that's obviously
they usually had an actual ball with an actual blood spray, and I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Like there is like a moment where like one of the balls kills a horse, and that is obviously them reversing a horse getting back up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is on the cheap, but you know what? I was having so much fun. It's not going to matter.
It didn't ruin the movie at all. Not even a little.
Especially every time Reggie gets to pull out a gun and do the Ash thing that he was doing in part 2.
Yeah.
Which part 2 is my favorite, and it's mainly because it basically is Reggie becoming Ash.
Yeah. Yeah, God, they did so many things in this movie just to keep you off balance.
Yes.
Not the least of which was the possibility that Reggie is going insane and hopping dimensions at the same time.
Yep. and then there's the part where in the future he wakes up and it's like you've been in this like machine this whole time.
Yeah,
like, is that true?
Yeah, like, you don't know.
Because even when he gets out of the machine, he starts having the dementia dream again. So
yeah, so he's absolutely uncertain of what's happening. And of course, like the guy who rescues him out of that, he's afraid of because he's a dwarf.
Yes.
You know, so it's like, is he one of the tall man's lackeys? I don't know.
The dwarf and the girl he meets in the 2016 timeline are like the two new characters of the franchise that this introduces. And I gotta say, I like Chunk.
Chunk was great, yeah.
He is awesome. The girl, Dawn/Jane.
Yeah.
Dawn in one dimension and in the other dimension, Jane. Basically just a pretty face. Not really much going on there.
Not a lot going on with that character.
A little underwritten, but we're not really here for her. We're here for Reggie.
We're here for Reggie. We're for Mike. We're here for the tall man.
Exactly.
You know.
And we're in the spoilers, so Jodie does show up too.
Jodie does. She shows up. That's the thing at the end. Where like a car drives up and he's like, Jodie, you're alive. He's like, but look at that for you for a long time, buddy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
That's the moment where you as a Phantasm fan, like your heart melts.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Jodie's alive.
Badass. And Rocky from Part 3 is in this movie.
Yes. She shows up at the end after the credits.
Absolutely.
You know, you were the one who noticed her first because I was like, wait, I can't remember where she comes from, but she's obviously a reveal, like, she's a reference.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, yeah, she's the girl from Phantasm 3, the girl with the nunchucks, the black chick with the nunchucks. Yep. I was like, oh,
yep,
right. The one where they go back to the fucking funeral home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Lord of the Dead, I think it was called.
Yeah. Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead.
Yep.
Oh man, yeah, that was an interesting one because when that came out, a lot of people were really confused as to what it was. But I was like, it's a Phantasm movie.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: I read some like some people's thoughts on this movie, and it's one of those like, wow, if you're not a Phantasm fan, like you really don't get it. You know?
Yeah.
Like I understand you're really confused about this, but it's Phantasm. It's dream logic. There is no coherency outside of that they're in some sort of conflict with this tall man.
Yeah. Every character's got arcs and things happen and things change. But
there are arcs, despite everything. There are arcs.
Yeah, they are complete stories, but it's a complete story told in like multiple dimensions.
Yes.
You know, it's in many ways, it's like kind of like what Cloud Atlas was doing, but as a horror story.
Yeah.
You know, I think Cloud Atlas ripped Phantasm off, to be totally honest.
Fair enough. You heard it here.
Yeah.
Cloud Atlas, you're full of shit.
Yeah, you're on notice.
I would actually, I would watch the Phantasm movies before Cloud Atlas.
Yeah. Although technically, if I'm being really honest, probably Phantasm got the idea from Slaughterhouse 5.
Fair enough. Well, one of the things that like the way Phantasm came about was essentially it was a collection of things that scared Don Coscarelli in his dreams.
Yeah.
And that's also why it operates on a dream logic, because like the ball that like always terrified him in his dreams was in his dreams. So why not make a movie like that?
Yeah, make a movie out of that. Maybe I'm on to something. Turns out he was.
Well, absolutely, because it started an entire franchise. I mean, it's a cult franchise, which is why it took so long for this one to get made.
Yeah, it was never as big as like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street.
For the longest time, it seemed like Oblivion was just going to be the final one, which is tragic because it's not that good. It's a mess. It's 90% a clip show. And he didn't get the chance to make the movie he always wanted to make. And you kind of get the feeling that this is it.
Yeah.
Now, granted, someone else directed it. He actually had another guy.
Yeah, David Hartman, his buddy.
But he was. This is obviously still like this is.
Oh, it's
a Phantasm
obviously
movie.
a Coscarelli film.
Yeah,
like he produced it, he co-wrote it.
And you can even,
his stink is all over it.
And you can even see like elements of some of the movies he's done recently, like Bubba Hotep.
Oh, yes.
Like John Dies at the End in this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a fair bit of John Dies at the End in here.
Down to the fact that Reggie dies in the end. Or does he?
Yeah, that's the big thing. Yeah, the only thing that I might have wanted to change, just because I'm an asshole, would have been to have ended on another smash cut of the fucking tall man.
Oh man.
Like they fucking run him over through the car, just going.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. The 4-barrel shotgun is back.
The 4-barrel shotgun is back.
That was... I wanted that back.
Fuck, well, god damn it. They recreated the trunk of Reggie's car from the second movie. You're like, holy shit, you remembered everything that he had in that movie.
Bringing that car
like, the nunchucks even show up, which is, of course, a reference to Rocky. It foreshadows Rocky returning.
There's a lot of references throughout this. In fact, there's probably some that we even missed.
Yeah, probably a ton of them that we missed.
Fucking A. I am so happy right now.
Yeah. It's an amazing movie. It's really good. Like, this is the kind of thing that you can do when you got a team that's like, no, man, the movie's all heart.
Yep.
It's all fucking heart.
That's the thing. It is all heart, because this is essentially, basically, the ultimate culmination of Reggie's story of trying to reunite with his friends that he lost in the first one.
Yep.
And by the end of it, they are 100% reunited, and even and you kind of get like this thing where now he can die happy, or is he dead,
or is he dead at all,
or is just that dimension dead? Like that.
Yeah. You got all those questions, but the thing that is very definitive, because they do it in every fucking dimension, is that Reggie's reunited with his friends in one way or another.
Yes,
either because he has died and gone to the afterlife, or because he's moved into another dimension. But every dimension has the reunion.
Them driving off in that car.
Oh yeah,
so awesome. And that's the other thing. We get a little bit of a Mad Max in this. Yeah. There is a car chase with the orbs, and that is amazing. Probably the cheapest car chase you could possibly film.
Oh yeah, because all you gotta do is you got one car, and all you have to do is fucking composite the terror sphere in there.
But you know what? I loved it. I loved every second of it.
Okay, I was totally cool with it.
And I loved that the Evil Dead 2 zoom-ins when he's up was back. Fuck yeah. Look, Don Coscarelli, I love you, man. Keep making movies.
Oh,
and you know what? Even if you have to replace Angus Scrim, which will hurt all of us Phantasm film fans' hearts, do it.
No, yeah.
Do it because
if you can't do it.
I want 6.
Yeah, I will watch it.
I will totally watch 6. He will be missed.
Yeah,
but I want 6.
Yeah, the only guy I could think of off the top of my head who could replace his presence, it would be a big shift, but it's going to be a big shift no matter what you do, is if you replaced Angus Scrim with Tony Todd.
No, that'd be great. I'd watch that.
Yeah, because you could kind of hear him saying those lines.
Oh,
you could hear him saying, boy.
And all you have to do is just have him be like, yeah, I was tired of that meat suit.
Yeah. And because I feel like Tony Todd is an actor who could probably slip into that role.
Oh, he totally could. Or just you just got to find a guy that is tall, has that regal presence, and can make you feel like you're like fucking...
and has to be able to act. Because there's another guy who could do that, but he's a terrible actor, and that's The Undertaker.
Well, that's a completely different thing. That's completely different.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Imagine The Undertaker with the fucking terror spheres. It's hilarious just thinking about it.
It's something. I love Undertaker, but no.
Yeah. No. That wouldn't really work very well.
Oh man. The thing is, there's a whole lot of shit that happens in this movie.
There is. It's a
Christ.
dense film. Go watch it. Thumbs up.
Hey, we got the Patreon, so kick in $1 or $2 a month so that we may continue Satan's unholy work. Also, we do a semi-regular stream about once a week, and the announcement of when the next one is announced on my Twitter. So go follow me on Twitter and you'll get the announcement on when the next stream is and who's going to be joining me. Although there's usually a surprise. So go do that, and we will see you at the next one. Hail Satan.